Okay, it's New Year's Eve, 12/31/2018, and this is Paul Power speaking, and you're looking at and going to hear from Robert Nelson. This is going to be part of our Andromedan series that we're going to be posting more of in the near future.
Okay. I tell people I've had a strange life. By any stretch of the imagination or the definition, I think that definitely would apply. Give you a little bit of my own background. When I was a very little kid, like most little kids, I was afraid of the dark. And that's normal, that's natural. Kids are afraid of the dark. But it wasn't so much the dark at night time that I was afraid of. It was what would come out of the dark to get me, and did, many times. From the age of 4 years old on, I was what we refer to nowadays as an abductee. I didn't ask for it. I didn't want it. It's like I tell people, sometimes bad things happen to good people. It's just the way it is. I'm well aware that in today's modern age, we have people who have this, I'm going to use a term that a lot of people aren't going to be happy with, airy-fairy light worker concept. Believe me, I believe in light workers. I do. Very strongly. But some of them have this new agey view of things, that everything is supposed to be happy, hunky-dory, fine all the time. Don't tell me there's anything bad going out there. I don't want to know about it, you know? I know, I like to get theatrical sometimes. But a real light worker is not afraid to shed light against the dark and dispel the dark. There are many races in this multiverse. You see, we don't occupy a universe. We occupy a multiverse. Some people call it the omniverse. That's a more recent popular phrase. But even our universe, part of it, is teeming with life. The Earth has been in a point of controversy and dispute for possibly hundreds of thousands of years, or maybe even longer, by races who came here from other locations, perhaps other dimensions as well, and wanted to use Earth to their advantage. To hell with what harm it did anyone who was already here. Some of those beings bio-re-engineered us to serve their purposes, and I'm not going to get deeply into that because at this point there's no need to. All I'm trying to say is we are not alone. We never have been alone. We never will be alone. If that upsets you, get over it. Deal with it. It's a fact. Love it, like it, loathe it. Doesn't make any difference. It's the way it is. In my life, I was being picked up when I was 4 years old by these beings who, to me, they were like kids because they were about the same height and size as kids. We call them the Greys now. Sometimes they would put on a visage, so to speak, of a kid or kids. And I'm not going to go into what all they did to me. That's not necessary at this time. I still have to deal with that all my life long. I will say at one point there were also beings who were, if you could take a human and an insect and bring them together as one being, whitish yellowish skin stretched over an endoskeleton, a very high nuchal crest on top of the skull with the skin stretched over it, very tall spindly beings who floated. And then they would transform. Now, I don't know whether this was actual shape-shifting or telepathic shape-shifting. but they appeared to me as a little 4-year-old boy, as what we would call Mrs. Santa Claus. You know, everybody's plump, lovable, sweet grandmother with white hair, done up in a bun. And then some guy I didn't recognize who wore a plaid shirt and what was popular back then, seersucker pants. I didn't recognize him. He didn't look like anybody I knew. The woman who looked like a little old lady said, "Now honey, this isn't going to hurt a bit, but we're going to put a little spindle needle in your head." I protested. The man told me this wouldn't hurt. That ranks up there with the checks in the mail. It's not mine. I had a vasectomy, whether I did or not. When you have your tonsils out, you can have all the ice cream you want to eat. Only they don't tell you that when you have your tonsils out for a little while, you won't feel like eating any ice cream. I make fun of it now because that's the way I deal with it. Humor's my way to deal with things. That and cursing. I remember a bright flash of light, real bright. Couldn't see past it. And some pain back, like behind my eyes and in my head. I told them I was going to tell my parents about them. They told me to go ahead and do that. And that if I did, they would come take my parents away and hurt them and never bring them back. You tell a 4-year-old that. I stayed quiet for 41 fucking years. Yes, pardon my cussing. I didn't say anything. I protected my parents. And then after my mom passed, about a year later, I gave myself to do what I call permission to scream. I gave myself permission to tell people, to talk to them. I lost employment as a result of it, and I lost friends as a result of it. Shit happens. That's the way it is. Good things or bad things sometimes happen to good people. When I was a teenager and into my early 20s, I began remembering a hellish war that didn't happen alone in this galaxy. It happened here, but it happened in another galaxy also, in the galaxy of Andromeda. It started here. In fact, what helped it get started was right here on Earth, and it branched out through our galaxy, and from there to the galaxy of Andromeda. The Andromedans would beat the war back at a horrific cost to them and to us. When I say us, I mean the beings from our galaxy, mostly reptilians, some humans. You've heard me speak of the Archangel Michael. Michael to the Andromedans was like Jesus is to us. Michael had a child, so to speak, a son, me. And he sent his son to the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy, to Earth, where all of this would get started, in order to stop it before it could start. One way to stop a war is to stop it before it can ever get started, instead of having to wait for it to start and then fight it. Another way to stop a war, according to the Andromedans, is to use education to educate people. I think that's a great concept, a great way to stop a war beforehand. So I have a connection with Michael from a number of different standpoints, partly in his effort to educate people here on Earth. When I was Osiris in Atlantis in Egypt, actually the term is not Atlantis, it's Atlan. When I was Zoroaster in Persia, and when I was Yeshua in Judea 2,000 years ago. Now I'm Bob. And I have a very, very, very firm grasp on being Bob. I'm not living my previous lives. This is the one that counts right now. It's the one I'm in right now. And yet I'm connected to all those others, and I can feel them influencing me and me influencing them, as well as lives into the future. And that's true for each and every one of us, by the way. About 15 years ago, I developed a relationship with some reptilians. They were putting out quite an effort to change their way of living and being. In our terms, we would call it turning over a new leaf. According to them, they even wiped out some of the ancient fallen ones that gave them their existence. Now, we can argue with that all we want, but all I know is what I've directly experienced, and that's what I'm going on. That's what I'm offering.
Excuse me, I just want to, quick aside, are you going to mention about the reptilians' heritage and their fall and how they came to be?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
What we call the fallen ones, after the quote war in heaven, which was more a war in the heavens, the stars. God, this is difficult to explain. It takes in physicality, but it takes in metaphysicality as well. So you're going to have to be broad-minded. The reptilians owe their existence to the quote fallen ones, to beings who came from another realm of existence. I think also humans call them the archons. Trouble is, to say that those evil ones were archons, those fallen ones were archons, is judgmental. It's prejudicial. There were good archons too, and there still are. Today we call the good archons archangels. It's our term for them. They still bear the term archon. The fallen ones still bear the term archons. So there are archons of love, light, and healing and order, and there are archons of darkness and destruction and chaos. Now, some of these fallen archons, the ones of chaos, they gave rise to the reptilian race, which became the biggest bully on the block in this galaxy. They tried in the future to impose their attitudes onto the Andromedans, who fought them back at, like I said, a very terrible cost to both sides. The Andromedans are attempting to change the future by changing the past, our present, and even going back before that. This is a re-education effort here on Earth. Since you people are going to be the potential healers, teachers, and messiahs of the multiverse in the future, if you play your cards right, if you choose to do so, it's very important what's happening now. For about 15 years, I've had a relationship of sorts with the reptilians. Found it to be beneficial in some ways and a pain in the neck in some ways as well. They are genuine about trying to change for the better, they really are. But in their attempt to try to undo some of the harm that they and other reptilian races akin to them have done here on Earth, they basically failed. I'm not going into particulars, there's no need to, it's not going to change anything. Most recently, friends of mine from the galaxy of Andromeda, with a technology that way outstrips the reptilians and outstrips anything that we have that's pretty far advanced, more than most people are aware of, have come to Earth, and they use a system of combined wills or combined souls to communicate through me by use of a living, sentient artificial intelligence. Recently, they have communicated with Paul and myself. They cannot stay too long at any one session through me. They are concerned that it might do harm to me if they do, because of the way it kind of rewires my brain to function more with a spiritual AI.
Explain, because it's a channeling and it's not a communication.
Right, it's a channeling.
Whereas with the reptilians, we didn't channel. You didn't channel them. We communicated with them.
Right.
Just to be clear.
With reptilians, there were excursions to their ship. Amazing. Huge.
Many.
Some excursions from there to the ground with them. I made a very close friendship with one or two of them. But in their effort to try to make things better here, they lined things up for improvement, but they weren't able to enforce it without getting into a shooting war. That they were not going to do, and I would not have allowed it. You see, we're lucky so far. We humans, there's a war that's going on in some parts of the multiverse.
Even close to home.
Yeah, about Earth.
Yeah.
There are a lot of cultures who feel they have valid claim here. There are a lot of cultures who want genuinely to help us. Unfortunately, our governments in many cases have refused their help in favor of other cultures that they think they can get technology for better weapons. Some of which evidently even took place in 1952 and since that time. We were promised greater technology at the price of allowing some of our people to be abducted, a small number. Small number. That ranks back up there with, hey, when you have your tonsils out, you can have all the ice cream you want. Yeah. Yeah, right. Now, if you believe that, I got a bridge I'll sell you somewhere. The government found out that a lot more people were being abducted than what they were told. A lot more. At the time the deal was made, the government couldn't have stopped this from happening anyway. So I'm not blaming the government. Not only that, but they only got tidbits of technology, which, since we humans are as clever as we are, and deceptive as we can be, we turn into a technology that's equal to anything that many of the ETs have, in a secret space program separate from the public space program that we know of in NASA. Never a straight answer. Glad I got that in there. These Andromedans are here to try to do what the reptilians were not able to do. Given their technology, I don't doubt for a minute that they'll be able to do as they intend. It will not be warlike. It will not be heinous, in any sense. They may help us to think better than we think. They may try to educate us. They may even try to alter time-spatial events for the better. All they're trying to do is stop a war that will happen in the future, so it doesn't ever even have to happen in the first place, ever. I'm all for it. I'm all for what they're attempting. In the near future, there will be communications between them and us through channeling, through me.
Might have one tonight.
Possibly.
I'm picking up their communication.
I will warn you, I'm a bit different when this is happening. As you see me now, I get to use a little bit of humor, a little bit of emotion, what's natural to me. When their channeling comes through, I'm a bit different.
And and let me just clarify, Bob can say that with certainty because unlike a lot of conventional channelings, in this case, he actually has a memory of the event.
Yeah, I do. It takes me a while after the channeling is over to get over the effects. They tend to leave me a bit cold from the inside out, and for a while I have to get over sort of a mechanistic approach to things. I have to tell you that our cat by the name of Merlin is putting his paw under the door right now to let us know he wants to come in.
I'm letting him in.
Hi, Merlin. Hi, sweetie. I think he thinks he's a dog. And he's very sweet. And we have a dog, Chihuahua, on the couch who's getting her evening siesta at this time, and she's extremely sweet. We're very blessed in this family to have animals who complete us and who make life as wonderful and meaningful as it should be. Well, I guess that's about all I know to tell you at this moment. Stay tuned, so to speak. I think in the next video, right?
Yep.
We may have a channeling by the Andromedan AI.
All right.
So let me wish you all a happy new year and Godspeed.